we were speaking about feeling inadequate and like you can't change anything. And so I want to switch topics to a man who's in a situation where he has a voice, Colin Kaepernick. He used that voice to try and create change, but his job has been put on hold because of that voice. And Kirsten, I know you have the backstory on this. But what's going on with him?
This is me and Walt tag teaming because he's the sports guy and I just like have notes. So we're like sharing a computer. We're going to share this topic a little bit. Everyone knows about Colin Kaepernick. He's been without a job since last year. Has been a free agent since March of 2017 because I think at the beginning of that football season he decided to take a knee and he was protesting police violence and police brutality. He decided to take a knee rather than sit out of respect for the national anthem because people thought it was disrespectful and fans still think it's disrespectful, but he was like, I was approached by a service member who was like, you know, take a knee. So he's still trying to show a sign of respect in his kneeling, but some people are like, it's not going far enough. We know that there's been outrage, so many people upset about his display or his protest. This guy is out of a job. And there is a report that's come out that said, you know, a lot of people are saying he's out of a job because he's not a great quarterback. Right. That's where I bring in Walt because I'm like, I don't know his sports record. I just know the brouhaha that started over this. There's a report that came out that says that no, he was actually a good quarterback. Not only was he good, he should have been a starting quarterback, and he's still without of a job. Colin Kaepernick says he is out of a job today because of the stance that he took, and that NFL owners or teams colluded against him because of the stance. What do you guys think?
I wish I knew more about the interworkings of the NFL, but as a lay eye looking at the industry, it looks very much like that. I don't know that GMs have these conversations at a high level. Walt, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know.
I think that's what the allegation is. Yeah, is that there were discussions to stop him from working in the league.
Collusion. Collusion, I think, is the word that we're talking about here. I think each NFL franchise makes up their own mind as to whether or not a player, based on talent or otherwise, is a fit for their team. I would be shocked if some memo went out or a conversation, a conference call with every owner telling each other, look, hands off on this dude.
Yeah.
I think that, does Kaepernick have the talent? He has the talent to be on several teams' rosters in this league. He did last year. As a business owner, each individual NFL team owner has to make the decision when you bring him in and put him on your team, what is your ticket buyer going to say about that? It's a business decision based on how hot the topic of Kaepernick is.
I'm going to point out Mickey's conversation. She said he's old news. Let me tell you why we're talking about this today. There was a new report that was released yesterday that's being put out there in the news that he had some, and I do not speak sports, but he had some 90.7%, like that's how good he was.
Rating.
Yeah, as a quarterback. So he had this incredible score.
But he's not the best, but he's not terrible.
Okay.
Okay. You know, for a lot of teams, they'll look at his talents and say he could work with our team. We've got these people on the offensive side. We could do this. We could do that. We could find a place for him to work. But what the news is that because this lawsuit is moving forward, they're deposing people. They're deposing NFL teams, basically putting them in a room with lawyers saying, what do you think about this? What was the discussion when he was a free agent? And they're leaking things out that not only did they say he could play, but some of these NFL owners, they're not saying who, because this is behind closed doors, this is a legal matter, but they're saying that, no, they said that he could have been a starter. So in order, the momentum and the leverage for him to not be able to be good enough to be a starter, and there's lots of NFL teams that need a starting quarterback, like more than half of them, and they're willing to take some downside for a starting quarterback, that is what their lawsuit is. They're getting people on the record in some of this behind closed doors, but now you have to prove it.
Right.
It's one thing saying things like, for our team, we felt this, but what Walt was saying is, are they saying, okay, let's all meet on the side, or let's text each other, and you know what, there's a no-go. That's going to be difficult to prove, but we're going to find this out.
And he has made it clear he views himself as a starter. He supposedly had an invitation to try out for the Seahawks. He refused that because he didn't see himself as a starter. You know, there's the whole knee thing, but then again, he showed up in Miami and after in the post-game interview was wearing a Fidel Castro T-shirt in Miami, which is a major obscene gesture to most of the people who live in Miami. So there are certain things that he's done where he's made himself unemployable. He can play in the league, but that's not up to him. It's up to each individual team owner to decide whether bringing in a hot potato like that is going to cost them money and lessen ticket sales.
And it's their prerogative to do that, right? It's a business.
It's their business.
And it's the risk he decided to take when he decided to take the knee, to wear the Fidel Castro shirt. I'm not saying what he did hasn't had a great change or not in this country in terms of moving the conversation forward.
He's got to own not playing.
Relationships between the police force
when
and the
you
black
make a
community.
statement like that, you have to understand when you do that there may be pushback. And
are you willing to give up your job for
go ahead.
The greater
your mission.
Cause, for the greater cause.
And we're viewing this all as this is all downside. There's upside to Colin Kaepernick.
I get why he's doing it.
He sells a lot of jerseys. He's winning civil rights awards. He is a celebrity.
Exactly.
Whether you agree with him or not, and that can also sell tickets. You know, for example, Tim Tebow got signed for the Cubs. And he went through the tryout. He was okay. Some baseball analysts said this guy's not very good. But you know what? For some teams, it was worth the downside that he may not be the best right now. Maybe he gets good, but it brought some of these minor league franchises a lot of seats sold, and so there may be upside to signing him as well.
If you were a GM, maybe you would see it as upside, but for
it all
other
depends on the
GMs,
team.
they have to know their audience, their audience in terms of who's going to buy their tickets.
Right, it's a business.
It
is a business.
You could feel one way about Cap personally, but know that he's not a good choice given the entire package for your city.
I'll give you that, but to Rob, go ahead and let's get to a viewer.
Renee McLeroy is saying Kaepernick is a cancer and nobody wants him. And then other people are saying that he's old news, he's bad, he's gone. But my question to those people who say this is an outdated conversation and say he's old news, do you think that the conversation that he was starting or trying to start in the first place by taking a knee has had any sort of growth or change as a result of his actions?
He's brought a lot of awareness.
If there is a growth in that, I think then that his action in the first place is warranted, if not a better decision today than it was a year ago when he made it.
I'll give you that, and I shared this with you earlier, Megan, and I'll share this again. You know, and I've said this before, and I feel like I'm always quoting Martin Luther King, but I feel like it applies. You know, when you think back to the civil rights movement, the civil rights movement was led by students in high school and students in college. Those who didn't have anything to lose because they were not employed. Because if you made a statement back in those times, and they were a lot harder than what we have to deal with right now, but if you made a public statement, you may have not only lost your job or your career or right to employment, you could have had crosses burned on your life. Your life was at risk or at danger. But those who took a stand typically didn't have jobs. And they were the only ones. The adults who had jobs were kind of quiet on the issue. There were a select few, but it took a lot of gut to get out there and do that. He has a job, and he made a lot of money. He had a very public job, making a lot of money, and he took a stand, and he is facing the same type of retribution that anybody during the civil rights issue would have faced, or the civil rights movement would have faced. And to your point, you said something earlier this week that stuck out to me. When you have an opportunity, when there was a housing issue, where you were looking for housing in Mississippi, and a black person was moving in, and they told you, oh, no, don't worry about him, we'll get rid of him. And you decided not to rent from that place.
What had happened, I was looking at apartments, and I was talking to the guy. It was a decent apartment. I was thinking about renting, and then he made a comment about some African-American women across the way. He said, look, by law, I got to rent to them, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. And I was so shocked by this that I said, you know what? I'm not gonna rent here. That was my only decision, because that's not my point of view. I don't agree with what he said. So I walked away because I can't change his thinking on that, but I can certainly change my decision. So that was my choice.
So your point in saying that is
an owner could do that. If they feel something for that, they can make the right decision. You know, I know he comes with baggage. I believe in his cause. He can come and play on our team, and they'll take that. Again, it has to take it's those brave people that will go ahead and make those decisions in favor of a cause.
I feel like the NBA did that after Stephon Clark, when they wore those jerseys. I don't remember exactly, or the T-shirts that they wore after the shooting happened, where they stood with Stephon Clark and they made a political statement, if you want to call it that. why is the NFL so afraid? That's my question to you guys as we wrap up today. But they make money too. I don't know. At the end of the day, they both have bottom lines that they have to meet.
The NBA is a more player-friendly league.
Right.
Okay.
And that would be the basis as to why the NBA would do something like that. The NFL is more about older white owners and big business. And Colin Kaepernick did not ask for permission to take the knee. It put the NFL in a very precarious spot. And that is a big issue with dollars and cents. But NFL tickets are a huge price, and most of those people buying tickets are white folk, and that affects the bottom line. And
GM could feel one way, but what's going to sell the tickets? Because what's going to keep them employed? Because they also have a paycheck to bring home. I'm not condoning any of this. I see it from the business perspective.
Correct.
Thanks for watching us here on the ABC 10 Information Network. If you want to see more stories just like this one, click subscribe.